What is going on, everyone? We are back with another review. Um, so again, I'm recording these in really weird ways. I have to record back-to-back Twilight Zones, and then I'll record an episode of Armchair Thriller that'll be in between the two episodes of Twilight Zone that I've. So if you're watching this, you might have already seen the first story of Armchair Thriller, which is like 4 episodes combined. Whew, that's going to be a doozy of a run, let me tell you. It's going to be interesting. Um, Before we move any further, though, please remember, if you check the link in the description below, there's a Patreon link. You can find everything that you're watching now a full week earlier. I'm just saying. Alright, guys. So this episode was called And When the Sky Was Opened. And if you're watching this, I believe we did the watch along and I didn't have a little bit of it showing over here like I normally do. It's because something messed up and it didn't auto follow along with the thing. I could be wrong. It might be there. I don't think it is though. But regardless, this was directed by Douglas Hayes, this is based on a short story by Richard Matheson. Teleplay was done by Rod Serling. It looks like Leonard Rosenman did the music composition, and this episode came out December 11th, 1959. It's cool. This is actually the last episode before Christmas. They have a full 2 weeks off, so no birthday episode for me. Alright. So to give you guys a rundown of the story, you have 3 dudes that went up into space. Ed Harrington, Colonel Clegg Forbes, and then William, who also goes by Bill Gart. The 3 of them went to space, and apparently the shuttle that they were on crashed back on Earth. But they were up in space for like 24 hours, right? So Colonel Forbes is talking to William Gart, who's in the hospital, and he's talking to him, and he's like, "Who did I leave out of here last night with?" And Gart was like, "Nobody. You left on your own." He's like, "No, I left with Harrington." And the guy's like, "I don't know a Harrington." He's like, "You know a Harrington. You've known him for 3 years. I've known him for 10." And he's like, "No, I don't know who you're talking about." So then Clegg goes on to tell the story of what had happened. So he apparently says that him and Harrington left at the same time, and they went to a bar where he tried to hit on one of the women. Clegg tried to hit on one of the women. And then Harrington started to freak out. He dropped a beer on the floor, made a mess, decided he was going to go call his parents. He called his parents, and his parents told him that they didn't know anybody named Harrington or named Ed. They didn't have a son named Ed, and he needs to not contact them because they don't know who he is. And he's like, he explains it in a way. He's like, it's almost like I'm not supposed to be here. Like, we weren't supposed to make it through whatever we made it through, and now I'm just going to disappear. And of course, Clegg's like, yeah, whatever, that's not gonna happen. So he goes back to flirting with the girl, or to go talk to the girl. But then she's like, he's like, did you see my buddy Harrington? She's like, I didn't. You came in here alone. And he rushes back over to the phone booth. Harrington's gone. He starts to panic. He goes back over to the girl and the guy, or he starts to walk out, and he finds a newspaper. And now the newspaper is saying that there's only 2 people, even though the newspaper earlier said there was 3 people. So now it's saying there's only 2 people that that went up in space and survived a crash. And he was like, "You're all crazy. The people that make the newspaper are crazy. I know who I know." So then he goes home, and he's having a panic attack, and what I'm guessing is his girlfriend shows up. She's mad at him because he didn't show up where he was supposed to meet her. And he's like, no, you don't understand. when I sent the telegram, I said that me and Ed were. Oh wait, that's it. I wrote the telegram. So he goes and he finds the telegram, but it doesn't say me and Ed. It says I will meet you at. And he's like, "There's no way he existed." And she's like, "I don't know Harrington." He's like, and he's telling her, we went on double dates together. We hung out together. You know who Harrington is. And she's like, no, I don't know who Harrington is. And he's like, all right. So he's like, you're all playing a joke on me. Okay, I'm going to go back to the bar. He's still at the bar. He goes back to the bar. He Kool-Aid Mans himself through the door, the window, and knocks over some chairs out of anger because he can't find his buddy. And that's the end of him telling the past to his buddy in the hospital. And his buddy in the hospital's like, look, I've never known a Harrington. Maybe you're going through some things and maybe you need to talk to a shrink or something, but I've never known a Harrington. And that's when Forbes looks at him and he goes, this is all just so crazy. It's almost like we weren't supposed to make it out of whatever happened, and it feels like I might just disappear. And then all of a sudden he goes into a panic and he's like, no, this can't happen to me. This can't happen to me. And he runs out of the hospital room and he starts to run down the hallway, and then all of a sudden it goes back to his buddy, and his buddy jumps out of the bed. He's like, he's like, Clegg, bud, hold on, we need to talk. And like he makes it out to the hallway and nobody's there. And the nurse walks by and she's like, you need to stop Clegg. He just ran out. She's like, who? And he's like, Clegg, he was just here. And she's like, I don't know a Mr. I don't know a Clegg. And he's like, Mr. Forbes. I don't know Forbes. And so he goes and looks at the newspaper, and all of a sudden the newspaper's saying only one person went into space and came back. And he goes into a panic, and then it transitions into the next scene, and the nurse is walking with a military guy down the hallway, and she's like, yeah, room 15's clear. And it's room 15's clear, and it can hold up to 3 people, which tells you that William Gart, Bill, also disappeared. And then as the episode ends, it shows the hangar that the ship was originally in, and the ship's no longer there. And that was pretty much the end of the episode, which I thought was a really good episode. Everybody that they were supposed to be there. So whatever happened, life corrected itself and they just disappeared. See, we're on a 2 good episode streak. And we've got at least, how many more stories of these that aren't written by Rod? A lot. It looks like we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more stories not written by Rod, just the teleplays that were written. So I'm hoping for 5 more good stories in a row. If we can get a nice little 7 episode stretch. Now I say that, but I also really like the last episode, and the last episode was written by Rod Serling, so he can write stories that I enjoy. But yeah, I enjoyed this episode, and this again gets me excited about what we might run into in the future. I'm not excited about ranking 36 stories when this is all said and done. That's a lot of stories, but I am excited to get to this series. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we love you. We'll see you next time.